Another aspect of information processing involves memory. We see that memory improves in older infants and toddlers. One type of memory that I want to talk about is autobiographical memory. We see that autobiographical memory emerges in the preschool years. Children's autobiographical memories are basically memories that exist for significant events in your own past, and this appears as a sense of self emerges. So children's autobiographical memories are much richer when parents talk about past events in detail and encourage their children to participate in these conversations. The difference in early memories can actually be traced to cultural differences in parent-child conversational styles. So we see that having an elaborative, reminiscing style is really beneficial for children's autobiographical memory. So an example of a low elaborative style would be if the mom, I'll talk about this in terms of maternal reminiscing. So if the mom says, "Can you tell me about a happy time, something that was happy for you?" And the child says, "I was happy because I went to the park." And the mom says, "You were happy because you went to the park. What did you do at the park?" And the child says, "I played with my friend." And the mom says, "Okay." And there's just okay, you played with your friend. And there's just not a whole lot of follow-up questions with that. Versus a more elaborative style would be the mom says, "Okay, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about going to the funeral. Did you, when your grandpa passed away, what was that like for you?" And the child might say, "It was fun because grandma was there." And the mom says, "Well, what about great grandpa? It was his funeral. Was that sad?" And the child might say, "Yeah." And the mom says, "But you got to see everyone, right?" And the child says, "Yeah, I got to see grandma. I got to see my cousins." And the mom says, "And great grandma." And the child says, "Yeah, and grandpa." The mom says, "So it's nice to see everyone. Was it sad though?" And the child nods. The mom says, "What about everyone else and seeing them sad? How was that for you?" And the child says, "Yeah, that was sad too." And the mom says, "Is there anything else you want to talk about?" And the child says, "No, I want to just be sad." Mom says, "Are you still sad? Do you miss your grandpa?" So do you see what I'm saying? You just continue to go on and on and on about it. So what we know is that maternal reminiscing style is really predictive of children's autobiographical memory. We know that mothers tend to be more elaborative with younger preschoolers, especially if those preschoolers have good language skills. We know that there are different factors that affect maternal reminiscing, like socioeconomic status, culture, gender, maternal education. Maternal education is actually not associated with maternal elaboration because maternal education is just a proxy for SES. But we do see that there are cultural differences. Mothers from Western middle-class cultures tend to be more elaborative. We see that mothers and fathers are also more elaborative with daughters than sons. So we see that there is also a neural basis for age-related memory changes. The hippocampus and the amygdala develop early in life. So the hippocampus is associated with memory. The amygdala is associated with emotions. We know that there's an interaction between these two. If there's an emotionally, positively toned or negatively toned memory, you're more likely to remember information with that emotional tone. We know that 6-month-olds can actually store new information. We also see that the frontal cortex develops in the second year of life, and this is when toddlers can begin retrieving information from long-term memory. When it comes to learning number skills, we see that preschoolers have mastered 3 principles when applied to 5 or fewer objects. So there's the one-to-one principle, the stable order principle, and the cardinality principle. And I'm going to post a handout to help you guys understand these principles a little bit better. The one-to-one principle basically means that there must be one and only one number name for each object that is counted. So a lot of times I would see Lenny not mastering the one-to-one principle, and he would count toys and he might say, 1, 3, 1, 3, 4, 1. So here he said 1 3 times, right? But so that shows that he doesn't yet understand the one-to-one principle. The stable order principle says that number names must be counted in the same order. For example, the child might count 3 objects and say 1, 3, 4. And they might count 4 objects and say 1, 3, 4, 5. So here they, in the first example, the 1, 3, 4, they've gone forwards and backwards, so they don't yet understand the stable order principle. For the 4 objects, they've said 1, 3, 4, 5. Now here, they do understand the stable order principle because they've moved forward. They've moved in the correct order, even though they accidentally skipped number 2. And then by age 3.5 to 4, most children grasp the principle of cardinality. And this is this idea that the last number in a counting sequence indicates the quantity of items in a set. So you might say 1, 2, 3. There are 3 blocks on the table. And so that's illustrative of the cardinality principle. So we see that preschoolers have mastered these principles on 5 or fewer objects. 5-year-olds use these principles regarding 9 or fewer objects.